Good morning, everyone. My name is Renee Amor. I am the founder and executive director of Louisiana Women Lead. I am incredibly excited about all of the programming that we have on for Facebook Lives this week. We are going to be talking to several of the women that are running for office across the state of Louisiana as we celebrate Women's History Month. They all have very different backgrounds. They all come from different areas of the state. So you'll hear a little bit of the difference of rural versus urban. And they're all running for really different offices. But there is a common thread in Louisiana for all of these women that are running for office. They all face barriers when they decide to run and when they are running. So we're going to hear from these inspirational leaders this week who have decided to step up, step out, and take a huge risk. Some of the time, most of the time, in fact, they take a financial risk when they run for office, but definitely we know that it takes a lot of time and energy when you're running for office, especially for some of these larger seats like a congressional seat or a Board of Education seat. And it's really hard to predict the outcome for a race. So in my mind, it's really good for everybody to hear some of the stories that some of these women face when they're running for office. You'll hear stories of the adversity they faced, possibly even heartache, definitely resistance, either from the community or from some of those around them. But most importantly, and the thing that I enjoy the most is that you're going to hear the stories of them being willing to fight, of their persistence, and of them overcoming a lot of the challenges and the barriers that they face. And I personally think everybody needs to hear that message. So this morning, I'm excited that we have Dr. Julia Letlow on our Facebook Live. The entire live will probably last roughly about 30 minutes, and just a couple of little housekeeping measures before we dive in. For those who aren't aware, Julia is in North Louisiana in an area where the internet connectivity is a little questionable. And I mentioned to her this morning, I have that issue even in Baton Rouge at times. So we definitely understand that sometimes their connection comes in and sometimes it goes. So there's a possibility at some point that she might lose connection, but she'll still be on her phone. So we're going to continue the conversation even without the video if that happens. We just didn't want anybody, freaking out if they're hearing Julia's voice but not seeing her face. And the other bit of housekeeping is that this is a Facebook Live. So obviously, if you've got a question or a comment that you would like Julia to see or hear, please drop it in that comment section, just like you would if, you were posting a comment on a friend's picture. And if we have time to get to them, we will. We don't want to, go over our allotted time this morning, but it definitely will give Dr. Letlow the opportunity to come back later if we can't get to them, and she can view them in that case. So as I mentioned before, we'll be here roughly 20 to 30 minutes. I'm excited just to kind of jump in, and we're going to hear a little bit this morning. We're going to start off with Dr. Letlow. Tell us a little bit just about who you are and when that moment occurred to you when you thought first about running for office.
Well, first, thank you so much, Renee, for having me on this morning. Wow, what a privilege and an honor to be with you. I've always admired your organization, albeit from the outside looking in, and just have gleaned so much inspiration from everybody that you've had on. I won't go through my whole bio or background, but my background, I pursued higher education for my career, and it's been a joy. It's been a delight. I've served in a number of roles. I've taught in the classroom. My background's in communication, which is coming in handy where I sit today. But I've also worked in administration and on that side of things. And in higher education, it's similar to running a large corporation and a business. And so I've learned all kinds of different aspects being in that realm. But, as we'll get into later, my desire and want to publicly serve has been there for some time. And just having this experience over the last year, being with Luke on the campaign trail, really brought to my attention the deficit and the lack of female representation. And as I was with him, and it just began to resonate with me that, if Louisiana has 52% of our population is female, why isn't there more female leadership at the local, state, federal levels? So much so that I would have intense conversations with people about it, including Luke, and he saw the deficit as well. And so he always said, Julie, if the opportunity ever arises for you to seek public office, I would encourage you to do it. You have the background, you have the credentials, but most importantly, you have the desire to serve. And so that's really where it resonated from. Again, I've been in the classroom, I've been in higher education. My platform includes education as a component to it, but the desire really came from just going around this 5th district, which is 24 parishes, and really seeing the lack of representation for our female voices, and that there needed to be more women having a voice at the table.
Amen. And as you mentioned that statistic of there's more than 50% of women that are registered to vote. Something that I always like to note is that the legislature is made up of only 18% women, and that's center left and center right women. So we do have a long way to go, and I'm super excited about you stepping up to run for this seat. Tell us a little bit more about, I'm getting chills as I mention it, but when you made that decision over this last year, when you decided that this was going to be the seat that you ran for?
Sure. Well, never in a million years did I expect it to happen this way. Luke ran an amazing campaign. He knocked it out of the park. He spent 20 years of his life cultivating relationships that he then was able to call upon to run this congressional race. And so, gosh, as your spouse and they become your best friend. And I was so excited for him. I was so proud of him. He's never worked harder in his life. And it was his moment and his time. And it's almost, when you're married to someone, like it's happening to you as well.
Mhm.
And so when we lost Luke unexpectedly, it was devastating. Luke and I had those conversations, but, as we women do, the thought came in my head. But I thought, no one would ever take me seriously or consider that a good idea. And so as quickly as the thought came, as quickly as it left. And then I received some encouragement. My mentor, Dr. Abraham, came to me and said, Julia, no pressure. Nobody wanted to pressure me by any means, but if the desire was there, if the calling was there, then he felt, and others did as well, that I'm qualified, I'm ready. I had some of the best mentors in my life showing me the way. I had some amazing experiences preparing me for such a time as this, and for me to have that peace in my heart, I knew that I needed to step forward in faith. I am a woman of faith, so of course I had to pray about it and make sure I had that peace about it before moving forward. But that's really when I had to make that decision quickly. The governor called a special election pretty quickly thereafter. And so, of course, I would have liked to have had more time, but, I've never had more peace about a decision than the day that I married Luke about this decision to run for office. So, there's no doubt in my mind that he is proud of me, but that I'm making the right decision moving forward.
Amen. As I said, it gives me chills every time I think about it. It was, I think, just one of those places in time where you just know, probably in your gut, that the right decision is being made. At least, I felt that all the way from, North Louisiana to Baton Rouge. And so now I would like to jump a little bit to some of the initial responses you heard from friends, families. I always like to talk about, everybody has, whether you're in a small town or a big town, we always have that group of people that meet at the gas station every morning at probably 5 or 6 a.m. And they're kind of the politicos from your town, and they talk about who they think should run or who they think shouldn't run. And so kind of include that, like, what did your family think? What did your friends think? What did, like, the politicos in your area think about when you decided to run?
Sure. Well, as you know, it's a huge undertaking to run for office, and to have that family support means everything to me. After Dr. Abraham and I had that initial talk, I said, first, I need to consult with the Lord about it, but then I need to talk to my family and make sure that they're on board. That was important to me, to have that support and that backing. The majority of the response has been amazingly positive, Renee, and I'm so thankful and appreciative of that. I think initially I thought I was going to meet, I was going to be met with quite a bit of backlash, and I really have not. And people are excited, they're energized. There's a sense of trying to make meaning out of something that was so tragic. So the outpouring of support has been humbling, to say the least. As far as the politicos sitting around, I think most of them are coming from a well-meaning place
Mhm.
of wanting to make sure that I'm okay, and that I'm not just completely suffering day in and day out, and that secondly, that my children are okay. Quite frankly, yeah, that's probably 95% of the phone calls that I make. I have to answer that question, whether my children are going to be okay. And uh, as you know, the mama bear in me would never do anything that would put my children in a compromising position, or be detrimental to their future, or how they're cared for. I've spent a lot of time answering that question. I don't mind it because I know it comes from a well-meaning place. My children are small; they're 3 and 1. But Luke and I just saw public service as an experience that they needed to be a part of. They are going to be right along with me along the trail. You might see two little ducklings following behind me, but I can't think of a better example to set for my kids than to see their mama serve. And, I share this on the campaign trail that when life knocks you down, because it's going to, we're all going to face hardship and trials and tribulations, and we're all going to lose people that we love. And so you can either decide to give up, or you keep going and you choose hope, and you try to make meaning out of loss. And I can't think of any better way to spend my time than to serve others, just like Luke did. And so, that's probably the number one question I receive, Renee, is, are the kids going to be okay? And I can promise you this, they are absolutely 1000% going to be better for this experience.
Amen, Julia. Just to the whole everything that you just said, I know that a challenger to you made a disparaging comment um, initially when you decided to run, and we don't need to delve a whole lot into that. I just want to mention the fact that I don't think if you were a man running for office in the same situation, that the comment would have been made. But I love your attitude, your tenacity. As I mentioned earlier, you've got to have a lot of persistence, but I think you do all this from, a place of faith. And I love the hope that you bring to the situation, and what your children are going to see, that their mother overcame from this entire situation. And so to me, you're just such an inspiration for women all across the state of Louisiana. Every time we do one of these Facebook Lives, usually they're with elected officials already, but I always get comments after the fact because women don't see themselves in serving in public office. And so I think you're able to give them that vision of like who they can be. That's just amazing. Can you tell me, have you faced any other barriers as you have taken on this run for public office, or has it largely just been kind of like that cultural belief system? Has there been anything else that you faced along the way?
It's been mostly just the cultural belief system, but when I am able to share my story and how I feel that the Lord has prepared me every step of the way for where I sit right now, it tends to put people's minds at ease. I share a lot about my research and in higher education, and actually writing a dissertation on grief. I lost my brother when he was 17 in a car accident. And while I would give anything to have my brother back, that experience and being able to write about grief and the processes of it, and I've been able to look back on that and glean so much from that as I move forward with yet another terrible loss in my life. And I just see that as God, preparing me to use those skills yet again, although no one ever wants to. But it's equipped me with this belief system that while I am full of grief, absolutely, 100% full of grief for losing Luke and my husband, um, I know two things can be true at the same time. That can be true, but you can also continue to choose hope and move forward. And it doesn't have to just completely shut you down to where you cannot move forward. And so those things are simultaneously happening in my life right now. I'm not sure I would have that perspective or know that to be true if I hadn't walked through losing my brother. So I just see God's hand on every part of my life, preparing me for exactly where I am now. But when I share those stories of things that have prepared me to walk where I am right now, it tends to put people at ease, and they say, "Okay, well, she is clear of mind. She is able to move forward and take on this task to be a servant."
That's utterly amazing. So it's actually kind of exciting, that you haven't had, I think, as many barriers as we hear about sometimes. It sounds like you have an incredible support network, wonderful family and friends that are supporting you in this run, which I think is really, really important for women considering running for office, especially when you have small children. It's a tall task and a huge thing to undertake, but it can be done if you do have that support network. I'd love for you to leave a little piece of advice for women that are considering running, that are, maybe hesitant to do so. What is the largest thing that you have learned in this run so far? And, what is the piece of advice you would leave to them that you think would help encourage them in that run?
Sure. So I've read a lot about why women do run and why women won't run
Mhm.
over the years. It's just been a passion of mine. When Luke won, he and I talked a lot about, could I possibly use that platform to encourage other women to run and be a part of organizations just like yourself to encourage women, and I don't want to speak generally about all women, but I think a lot of us feel that we have to have all of our ducks in a row. Everything has to be perfect. Children have to be a certain age. We have to have enough money. We have to be so far in our career. But the sage advice that was given to me before I had children, because I think we do that to ourselves with children too. Everything has to be perfect. Well, it's never going to be the right time. It's all the stars are not going to align perfectly. But you still, if you have that desire in your heart and you have that calling to serve, then you step out in faith and the rest will take care of itself. And you work day in and day out and to fulfill that call. But everything in your life is not going to be perfectly aligned. And if you're waiting on that, then you're going to wait forever. And so somebody close to me shared that encouraging word with me, and that stuck with me. That if you have a dream, if the Lord has put a desire in your heart, then go for it. Just because everything is not perfectly aligned does not mean that you shouldn't do it. I'm so encouraged by all the women who are running. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the possibility of being the first Republican woman
Yeah.
to serve in Congress. That would be a bit of history making. Wow, what an honor! But I think it's high time, that happens. So it's just, I'm so excited for women. Everything that I've read is that we get up there, at whatever elected role we go into, we go in with the intention of getting it done and bringing those results back to whomever we serve. And we don't mess around. When the government shuts down, the women meet at the table to open it back up. So I'm just so excited about having more women's voices around the table. There are issues that affect us specifically as a gender that I think that we need more of our voices around, just to even bring awareness to things that we're facing. Now I know I'm going on and on, but now I'm a single mom. I'm in a category that I never imagined that I would be. And so I'm starting to consider uh, things that I may never would have, like why it's so important for there to be great after school care, things that are facing single moms all across the country that I may have otherwise never known about or really had an interest in. But it's because I'm walking that new role now that when I'm around the table, I can speak to that or shed light to those issues that we're facing. So, I'm so excited about this moment in time and for more women to step up. It may not be the perfect timing in your mind, but if you feel that call and you feel led, go for it.
I mean, that is so the case. When you said that, I thought, I mean, how many times have we done that in our personal life with getting married, going to school, raising children, especially running for office? It's something that I think is, as I mentioned before, a little culturally different for women in the state of Louisiana. And so it's like out of our norm. And so I think it's hard for us to jump in and make the decision. I hear women talk a lot about it worries them about, you know, how it's going to impact their family. And I don't mean like the actual time that you spend away from them, but on the campaign trail, campaigns can get ugly at times. And I think, as you mentioned earlier, the mama bear in us just comes out. And so it's really hard to kind of control that in those types of situations. But if you would not mind, before we start wrapping up, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about, are we in early voting right now? When is the actual election going to happen? Where can people get their voter information to find out, am I in Julia's congressional district or not? And where they can obviously get their information to go vote on election day.
Yeah. So they could absolutely go to the Secretary of State website and to find out if they're in my district. My district is huge. It's 24 parishes, as we like to say, from Bastrop to Bunkie to Bogalusa. So it actually goes all the way from the northeast corner of the state, all the way down to the Boot in Washington Parish, and all points in between. But it is it's a privilege and an honor to be able to run for such a large district geographically. The backbone of this district is rural in nature. I grew up in Monroe, Louisiana, but married a good old country boy. He moved me out to Start, Louisiana. I don't know if you're familiar with Tim McGraw, but he hails from Start, so our one claim to fame. But it's exciting to me that it is that large because the rural way of life is just so precious and so sweet, and just amazing people along the trail. Just having those conservative ideals that we all share, that we just want to make this district better for our children, for future generations. I mean, isn't that what we all want, and what we're all fighting to do? So yes, early voting starts March 6th through the 13th, except that Sunday. And then the election is March 20th. So it's really just a matter of getting out the vote at this point. We need as many people to go to the polls. My heart breaks for the 5th district. This is the 3rd election they've had to endure over the last couple months. They deserve representation in Washington. So all I'm asking is for just one more time, if you could please go out to the polls and vote. We'll get that much needed representation in Washington. And if I'm so honored to receive that, I will go and get results and bring them back, because that's what we do as women.
Amen. Everybody, I just want to thank y'all for joining us today. And as Julia mentioned, the election is on March 20th. That early voting starts March 6th. If you need information about where your polling location is, I would go to the Secretary of State site. For the younger savvy whippersnappers, there is an app where you can put your address in and get that information. For those who aren't aware, we are Louisiana Women Lead. Our job, our lot in life is to essentially inspire and train center-right women to run for office. I get some naysayers sometime, and I just like to tell people that the squad does not represent my point of view in Congress, and that Julia Letlow has definitely got the ideology that represents me. And so we want more of her in Congress. Please share what we're doing, obviously donate, but above all, get involved. Look for those women in your life that you think should be running for office. It can be local office and it can be congressional. I hope one day we have a statewide representation of center-right women. We just want to make sure that your voice is heard. Thank you so much for the time today, Julia. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow morning as we interview another candidate. Thank y'all.